2,000-mile road trip on Interstate 40, charging at Pilot Flying J new charging stations going to the Grand Canyon.
In my car.
The trip will take us right around 2,000 miles in each direction for a total of 4,000 miles. Little interesting note here, it's 4,000 miles to the core of the Earth, so we'll basically be traveling the same distance as the radius of the entire planet on this trip. It's not insignificant. The charging stops have all been identified, mostly Pilot Flying J, except for, as I mentioned in my previous update, in New Mexico we have a bit of a blank spot, so we're filling in with a Love's Travel Stop with an Electrify America and a native EVgo station in Albuquerque. At the beginning of the trip, because Hurricane Helene has cut Interstate 40, we're having to take an audible route through the southern portion of western North Carolina into Chattanooga. Okay, we've made it here at noon, but we switched time zones, so this was just about exactly 5 hours of travel, and we covered 238 miles, averaging 3.0 miles per kilowatt hour, which is pretty darn good. There was a lot of elevation change throughout this trip, and we're pulling in with 22% state of charge after leaving with 100% state of charge. Let's go to get plugged in. Okay, auto charge should work. It's worked every other time I've done this. Payment has been authorized. Uneventful. Very easy trip in beautiful weather. We're right around 60 degrees. So just about perfect traveling weather. Very nice facility coming through the portions of eastern Tennessee. We had to cut through the southern portion of western North Carolina, obviously because Interstate 40 being cut. But now we're into the rolling hills that make up eastern Tennessee as we head into Nashville. I'm going to go inside, use the restroom, maybe clean out the car a little bit, and we'll let the car go ahead and continue to charge. Let's see if it does connect. Yep. All right, so here's the ramp up. Very common with the LYRIQ to get an initial punch up to about 180, and normally it holds it there for a good duration. Yep, there we are, 182. And sucks in a lot of kilowatt hours in the initial phase, and then it'll get this really nasty dip down to like 60 kilowatts before it starts to climb out of the basement. And we'll see how it does here.
The one right there.
This right here is my favorite meatloaf. It's real good. Sandwiches. And the Wendy's. Convenience store has a Dunkin' Express. It's kind of an upgrade for pilots. And then the traditional travel center. I like the feel of this Wendy's. The New Horizons Refreshing does a lot for it. Okay, everyone road trips a little bit differently. The way I did it for this particular trip is I printed out all of the estimated charging stops and their corresponding elevation, because I want to know from the stop previous how much elevation I'm going to be gaining, because that affects how much efficiency you're going to be burning through and how many kilowatt hours. So right now we are up here at stop number 1,
And I'm going to plug in stop number 2 to see how much we have to charge in order to get to it. 207 miles away, and a decrease in elevation of about 1,000 feet. Okay, so 30 Sand Pebble Drive in Jackson, Tennessee.
Got it. 30 Sand Pebble Drive, Jackson.
Okay, it wants me to charge in Nashville. I'm going to take that off.
Head west toward Dixie Lee Avenue.
And then we will see how long we have to stay here. I'm guessing not too long. We're already at 50%.
Drive is out of battery range.
Okay, so
Head
we have
west toward Dixie Lee Avenue.
basically have to get another 25% plus an additional amount for comfortable buffer. So not too much longer. Okay, it seems to be having a hard time maintaining its gimbal settings, but let's see if it will actually follow me. Ah, sure enough. Okay, charger 1, charger 2, windshield squeegees, garbage cans, and over here, still getting used to this whole drone thing, is the convenience store. Wendy's, and the entrance into the pilot. All right, let's see if we could do an overhead shot. I'm not sure how good this is going to turn out, but it's a little breezy. It seems to be fighting the breeze a little bit, but not too bad. And we should get some overhead shot. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, so it says we'll arrive with 0%, but it's only 207 miles. And if you look over here, we have 265 miles of range. Our current state of charge is 84%. I'm thinking we're just fine. I went ahead and reset the trip computer. So for the next, we'll get new efficiency ratings. Right now we're, as I said, hovering at 3 miles per kilowatt hour. Let's go ahead and get disconnected to head back on the road. Okay, we've currently pulling 60 kilowatts, 67 kilowatt hours have been dispensed. Total time, 38 minutes. I'll go ahead and post the EVgo charging curve. And we're getting back on the road. See you at the next one. Okay, we are 32 minutes away from the charging station with 39 miles left to go. And as can be seen, is estimating we'll arrive with 6%. What I'm going to do now is turn on preconditioning, which is, if people are not familiar with the LYRIQ, that is under the charging, under the settings, there's an option for fast charge prep, and then you get started. Now it is going to use a little bit of energy in order to do so, but hopefully we'll get a better charging curve than last time. And I'm not really complaining about the charging curve last time. It was actually pretty good. It's just we might be able to do even better with the 350 kilowatt Delta charger. So we'll see if that makes a difference, and we'll check back in once we get to the charging station. Hey Google, how much battery do I have left?
Your battery is at 9%.
Okay, so we arrived at 9%, and we traveled 211.5 miles with a lower efficiency. I'm assuming because previously we were coming out of the mountains and driving at a slower speed, and so now this is more real-world efficiency. Probably what we'll be expecting for the rest of the trip as well, because pretty flat for the next couple days and 70 miles an hour. Concerning the preconditioning and what to expect on the charging curve, really, the LYRIQ does very well as far as charging goes. And the preconditioning only has, in my experience, a nominal effect, but we might as well take advantage of it when we can. Let's go ahead and get plugged in. Okay, we are charging next to another Cadillac LYRIQ, which I believe is a Nimbus blue color. My wife's not a fan. I kind of like it. Ours is stellar black. We are connected. Payment has been authorized. Okay, so this is Jackson, Tennessee. I've been wanting to come here for a long time. This was one of the first pilot flying J's that opened up. not in the initial batch, but shortly thereafter. And it was one of the lone ones on Interstate 40 besides over in Knoxville. And as you can see, it's got a Denny's. It also has a canopy. And this station is pretty heavily used. So let's go ahead and take some pictures and walk around the station a little bit. Okay, I have gotten a drone for Christmas, which makes these shots possible. And as you can see, a canopy, a really nice sign, Denny's, and 4 charging stalls, all of them covered. We're here during the daylight hours, so the canopy lights are not on, nor the neon border, but I'm sure we're going to cross some of those as time goes on here. Anyway, a really nice looking station. Let's go ahead and go inside. I have to go to the restroom, but also we can take a look inside at the convenience store. Before we go inside, let's take a look at the charging to see if the preconditioning had any effect. Come on. Non-responsive. Okay, that was kind of strange. It errored out. I guess this dispenser could only do 1 car at a time. It can't do simultaneous charging for some reason. But the LYRIQ that was charging at this dispenser finished up, and he's headed on his way, and he freed up the stall. So we're using the stall that he was using, and are up to 180 kilowatts. And we'll go ahead and see if this charging curve is any better than the last time. Here's the Denny's Travel Center and convenience store. Let's go inside and take a look. First, the Denny's. And the convenience store. All right. Well, while I was getting ready to transfer some drone footage onto the phone, the lights came on, so I decided to run back outside and grab some footage with the lights on. Much nicer. Okay, we had a very typical charging session. 48 minutes, 87.5 kilowatt hours dispensed. We're at 90%. We're going to go ahead and move on to dinner. Okay, we've arrived at the West Memphis, Arkansas Flying J, brand new EVgo pilot GM Energy station. Since the last charging, we did stop over for the night at the hotel, but this is the trip count from the last charging stop. Our efficiency really dropped, and I'm assuming because either we had some headwinds, but definitely our speed was a lot higher. We were going over 70 miles an hour most of the time, so definitely dropped in efficiency. We traveled 112 miles. We're posting up with, hey Google, how much battery do I have?
Your battery is at 49%.
50% since the last station, which I think we left at 87. Let's go ahead and get plugged in. Okay, this station is pretty new. It opened just a few months ago. Still has that new station smell. Let's go ahead and get plugged in. Assuming the auto charge is going to work. At this exit, there's also a pilot travel center. So this is one of those stations that is married to a location that also, the payment has been authorized, is married to a location that also has a pilot on the other side of the interstate. This one did have what appears to be a Denny's that I think is closed, except I think that might be in the process of reopening it because the little scone lights above the tables are actually lit and back on. So I think they might be just doing a New Horizon refurbishment or something. Let's go ahead and walk around the station a bit. All right, here's a ground shot of the station's front. Pretty standard. Okay, as you can see, 4 stalls as is common with the rectangle canopy, and it backs up to kind of a swampy area. There was thunderstorms last night, so nothing in surprise there. It is attached to a Flying J, and as I said, immediately off the interstate with a sister pilot station within a very close proximity as well. I couldn't walk there. There's a Love's travel station in between here and the pilot, so it's too far to walk, but I suppose you could walk over to Love's if you wanted to. But inside is a full-service convenience store and what looks to be a soon-to-refurbished restaurant. Let's go ahead and go inside and take a look. As far as gas pumps go, it's pretty small. the impression I get is that this is the site besides the pilot that really services long-haul truckers more, and there's a bigger lot in the back for them to park. The store itself is kind of small, and I asked the staff inside. They said the Denny's closed down in April, and it is not coming back. So for right now, even though the lights are on in there, no Denny's. So that first dispenser I plugged into, I was only getting like low 60 kilowatts. And so I moved over to this dispenser, and I've been seeing other people post into PlugShare that they've been getting low throughput on these dispensers. So it could be that there's some kind of issue with the deltas, or perhaps the power is being derated during demand periods or something. I'm not quite sure, but this one also, I'm only getting 63 kilowatts, and this is on a completely different dispenser. So let me go over and take a look at the transformer, because maybe the transformer itself is limited. And I am in West Memphis, Arkansas, which is close to Memphis, and this area of the country is notorious for having problems with electrical delivery. So it's not inconceivable that there's a derating on the electrical provider side. But let's go take a look at the transformer. Okay, well, right down there it says 1000, which indicates 1000 kVA, which should be sufficient if the power is getting delivered, but perhaps it isn't. I'm not quite sure. I don't think it's the car. I think there's something going on with this site. Yep, so only getting 60, so I guess we're just going to have to wait it out. We really need the electrons. So, I mean, at least we've got a functional station, but it does seem to be derated for one reason or another. And this is the second issue I've had at a Pilot Flying J. The other one was in Jackson, Tennessee, where one of the dispensers wouldn't do simultaneous charging. I'm not quite sure why, and we had to wait for the other Cadillac LYRIQ in the Nimbus Blue next to us to finish up before we could take his stall and start charging. So there does seem to be some maintenance issues going on here at the Pilot Flying J stations. Not quite sure exactly what's going on. Maybe it's just a combination of issues. And, you know, they've been on such a building spree. Perhaps the operations team in the back end here, which needs to perform all the monitoring and maintenance of these systems, has not gotten all these systems a part of their routine maintenance and monitoring. But anyway, we're going to wait this out. We really have no choice because we got to get across the state of Arkansas. So another thing I've been noticing recently, that these garbage can squeegee paper towel combo units have been in place at the stations that we've been stopping at. And it's nice because they're heavier. Normally what you have at a Pilot Flying J is the traditional 20-gallon or 50-gallon bucket, whatever they call them, with the top on, very efficient for servicing. This is a little bit harder because you have to take the top off and replace the garbage bag, but it does have the built-in squeegee. Normally at Pilot Flying J's, what you'll get is just a bucket with windshield washer fluid in it, which again is very easy to service. You have to remember that these are very vast travel centers, and so the people who go around in the golf carts, and I think you can see the golf cart right there, that's the golf cart that they use to service these things. It goes around and replaces the garbage bags, fills the windshield squeegee things, and takes care of the exterior maintenance of the site. And there's a lot of truckers parked back over in this area, so it's not just the auto area. This really, the large portion of the property is the truck site. So in order to service each one of these units, they have to spend a certain amount of time. And it's nice that they've upgraded to this one because it seems more stable and a little bit more user-friendly to use. So definitely nice to have garbage cans, windows, squeegees, and paper towels available to the charging station. Okay, we're currently here at the service loop location. If you look at the elevation, it's 210 feet above sea level. This is basically the lowest point in the entire trip. At the next one, we're only going to be 482 feet above sea level, so it's basically flat. But it is 287 miles if we're going to make it to it. And that's completely across the state of Oklahoma into Roland, Oklahoma. So 287 miles is what we would need to make it. I do have a couple of bailout options, a Genesis in Conway and Electrify America in Clarksville. So we're going to play this by ear to see if we can get up enough of a charge to travel 287 miles. I think with what we've been seeing with the drop of efficiency, with the increased speed and headwinds and whatnot, That's probably unlikely, and we'll have to take one of these bailout options, but if able, it would be nice to make it all the way to Roland, completely across the state of Arkansas. So let's see. Okay, let's see what Google thinks. Negative 45%, 2 charging stops. All right, I'm gonna take off those charging stops and just see what happens here. Delete that. I'm gonna go here and delete that. Yeah, so it thinks I'm smoking something. It thinks I'm not gonna make it. So right now I am at 73% state of charge, and according to Android Automotive, I'll arrive with negative 45%, basically putting it completely outside of battery range. This circle here indicates when I run out of battery according to the navigation, just on the other side of Little Rock. So it has been being overly conservative, and it does lag a little bit as we charge, but this amount of distance I don't think is going to be achievable. So we're going to hit the road after we get closer to 95% state of charge, and I'm going to see what happens after we pass Little Rock to see if this adjusts, because I have been noticing that as I close in on a final destination, all of a sudden the state of charge destination will start to increase by multiple percentage points. So we'll see how it looks. Okay, the station says 94, but inside the car it says 95. We're going to go ahead and disconnect. This was a very poor charging session. We spent 42 minutes. We only had 33.5 kilowatt hours dispensed. The charging speed started at low 60s and decreased from there, so there's definitely something wrong with this station. But we're going to make an attempt to try to cross the state of Arkansas on one battery charge and make it all the way to Roland, Oklahoma. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to do that. We're going to give it a chance. We're going to give it a shot. All right. Okay, now that we've got on the road and the Android Automotive guesstimates have had a chance to adjust, we're showing up with negative 21%, which is pretty significant. What I'm going to try to do here is some good old-fashioned drafting on some trucks, because we do have a pretty good headwind going on here with probably, according to the weather, 12 miles an hour out of the south, which would be to my left. I suspect it's a little bit more westerly, and we're actually headed into that wind. So drafting should help there. And also, if I stay behind a truck, likely my speed is going to be decreased just because I'm not pushing left lane all the time. So those two things should help a little bit. I don't think I'm going to make up the full 21%, but if you look over here, this says my estimated is 296, and I need to only go 278. Now, those two estimates are coming from different computers. One is Google, which I trust more, which is over here. This one is the one I trust more, has more factors at play, specifically the speed that I'll be traveling, which has a big detriment. It also adjusts for altitude and other factors. This one is a little bit more generic, but it does say 295, so I think we're going to be making up some of the distance from the negative 21 arrival, but I don't think we're going to be making up all of it, so likely we'll have to opt for one of the bailout options. Check back in once we make a decision. Okay, I chose a bailout option at a Hyundai dealership, which is immediately off Interstate 40. It's at a really good stop. The efficiency started to tank, and there was a factor that I didn't consider when I was doing my calculations, which is the speed limit on Interstate 40 in Arkansas increases to 75 miles an hour. And it's all fine and good to be able to travel at 75 to 80 miles an hour down the interstate, but it definitely does take a chunk of efficiency away, which put crossing the state on a single tank out of reach. So we're going to get plugged in here, get a few kilowatt hours, and move on. Let's see if it gets started here. So far, no power. Luckily, I've got another bailout option if necessary. Oh, there we go. All right, it's ramping up. We should get 62.5 according to the display on the screen. We'll see what we actually get.
And of course, you have Ford over there. It's got 3 of them.
Oh, yeah, I see that. I didn't notice.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
I'm
Richard.
Richard, my name's Walter.
Nice to meet you.
My wife's in the back sleeping.
Oh.
I'm here at Chris Kane Hyundai, who has a very conveniently located charge point charger directly off Interstate 40. We don't need many kilowatt hours in order to make it over to where we're headed next, which is Roland, North Carolina, or Roland, Oklahoma. So we'll only be here for a little bit. And just talked to one of the workers. He said this has been here about 2 years, so pretty nice addition to the community. Okay, it says we'll arrive with 0%. It's 133 miles away, but over here we have 176 miles of range. And I know these two computers are inaccurate amongst each other, but if you basically split the difference, we should have enough in order to make it 133 miles. Should be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug. Okay, price 0, complimentary, very nice. All right, heading back on the road. Google, how much battery do I have left?
Your battery is at 8%.
All right, so it was estimating we were going to arrive with 0%, but as anticipated, we arrived above that, which is good. We did have better efficiency to some extent. I'm giving that to the fact that we couldn't really maintain the higher speeds just because of heavier traffic. Let's go ahead and get out and get plugged in. Okay, I did precondition before coming here, so we should get some pretty good speeds, assuming the station's not derated like the last one. I haven't really checked on PlugShare to see what people were getting, but we're about to find out for ourselves. Connected. I do have windshield squeegees, which I'm going to take advantage of while the car does its initial negotiation, because there was quite a bit of splatter going on the road, and the windshield cleaner doesn't really take care of it. I like these long ones because the Cadillac, I can't quite reach across without a little step stool. So these truck length squeegees are better for me, and they do work well. Sometimes I've used them and they've left streaks on the windshield, but this one here works pretty good. All right, so I hear that we are charging. I'll take a look in just a second after I finish the windshield. Priorities, you know how it is. Okay, windshield is clean. 178 kilowatts. That'll work. Let's go ahead and take a look around the site. So this is what I was explaining about the paper towels affixed to the pillars. I actually like that a little bit better. And then we have the standard garbage cans and the squeegees. All right, this is a much better session than last time. We are getting 151 kilowatts, and I'll show the charging curve on the EVgo app once it's completed, but it's very clear that there was something wrong with that West Memphis, Arkansas station, and this one is working just as it should. And here's the attached facility. As I mentioned, it has a Wendy's and the typical travel center and convenience stores that you would expect to see at any Pilot Flying J. The gas pumps are not too extensive. I've seen them a lot larger at other Pilot Flying J's. Let's take a look at the truck area. The building has very obviously just been refreshed because it looks freshly painted. All the laminate on the outside looks brand new, and it has all the updated signage. Let's go inside and take a look. Oh yeah, they've got the self-checkout terminals, the entrance to the Wendy's, drink station. Let's take a look at the Wendy's. I'm guessing this is newly updated as well. The thing that's a little bit smaller at this Pilot is that they don't have a hot bar. They just have quick serve sandwiches, hot dogs. I don't see any pizza or meals, things like that. All the Pilots do have these salad options and typically fresh fruit as well, so there is that. It's not what you would typically find in a normal convenience store. It's basically a normal convenience store on steroids. A little bit more.
Head south, then turn right.
Okay, it was a very typical charging curve, probably the best we can get. where it hovers around 180 kilowatts, and then it does a slight ramp down and then a big dip down to like 60 kilowatts, and then it ramps back up again. But we're all ready to go. We got more than enough to get to the next charging station. We're gonna stop charge and session. 79 kilowatt hours delivered in 40 minutes and 42 seconds. We're at 81% state of charge. Okay, this is Checotah, Oklahoma. The game we're playing here is to see if we could charge up enough to bypass Oklahoma City and go all the way to Sayre, Oklahoma, clean across the state. Payment has been authorized. Let's go check out the station. Okay, we just pulled up in the computer, and we're not going to be able to make it all the way to Sayre, so we are going to have to stop in Oklahoma City also. So here, we're just going to charge up enough in order to get to Oklahoma City. So the calculation changes quite a bit since we're not going all the way to Sayre, Oklahoma, since it seems to be out of reach according to the Android Automotive calculations. Now we're just going to Oklahoma City, and as it currently stands, we should have enough. So we're going to disconnect and get back on the road. Just a quick walk around the site. As you can see, very common to what you would see at other Flying J's. Flying J's have sit-down restaurants. This particular one is currently closed. Likely it's going to be in a similar state to the one we saw earlier in the trip that is closed. I think that was West Memphis, Arkansas. So that does happen. If they're not financially viable, they do shut them down. And a short walk away is the charging station. Okay, this is Sayre, Oklahoma, on the western edge of 40th in the state of Oklahoma. After here, the next stop is Amarillo, Texas, but we're going to go to the hotel and charge up in the morning instead. It's a little bit of backtracking, but it's late. And I was thinking on the way here, it is so nice to not have to go hunting down a charger that is, a mile and a half off the interstate in order to fill up. These are directly off the interstate exits, which is so convenient, so nice when you're trying to haul down the road and cover a good distance. Like right now, we're getting into Amarillo about 10 o'clock at night. We're tired, and if we had to go spend an extra mile and a half to hunt down a charger in a dark parking lot somewhere that doesn't have any staff and is probably unsafe, not the best experience. But here, the place is open. Look, there's a Hummer H2 next to us, brightly lit canopy. Protected from the elements. Should it be raining? It's not, but should it be, we were protected from the elements. And we're sucking down 180 kilowatts. So definitely this new network, been on it now for 2 days straight, hauling down the interstate, being able to post up directly off interstate exits, get a fast charge, get back on the interstate and continue the road trip is what this is all about, and they have succeeded. All right. So I'll post the charging curve here when we're done. And tomorrow we'll try to get a little bit more in depth. The drone, I tried to fly it when it was dark out, and because it uses artificial intelligence in order to get its coordinates, it really starts to flip out when it's dark like this. So I'm not going to bring the drone out. Anyway, we'll see you again tomorrow. Okay, this is the Amarillo Flying J, and we mistakenly didn't reset the trip odometer when we left Sayre, Oklahoma. We were kind of in a rush. We were having dinner, we were charging and trying to get back on the road, so it kind of slipped our mind. So this is going to be for all the way from Oklahoma City. And 267 miles, the efficiency has really dropped, and the reason it's dropped is because our speed is much higher. We've been averaging, probably 78 miles an hour out here in western Oklahoma, and in the panhandle of Texas, the speed limit is higher, 75, 80 miles an hour. So it's definitely taken a chunk of the efficiency out. But here, we're going to charge good and long. We got in last night about 10 o'clock at night, just went upstairs and crashed. And right now it's about 5 o'clock in the morning and my wife is still asleep. I ran over to the Flying J in order to fill up. So let's get to it. Payment has been authorized. Okay, hopefully the station isn't derated like the one in West Memphis. That was definitely an unfun event, but I've got extra time built into the schedule if necessary. Yeah, we're wrapping up good. I wasn't able to precondition because when we got to the hotel, we were at 10%, and in order to get back to the station, I burned another 5%, which meant we were pretty low on battery state of charge, so I didn't want to risk by trying to precondition the battery as well, but it looks like we're getting pretty good speed. So just on the other side of Interstate 40 is Buc-ee's, and I think it might be pretty new because there are no Tesla superchargers, there are no Mercedes-Benz charging hubs. It's just a Buc-ee's, and it has a really large inflatable, I don't know if you can see it, but a really large inflatable beaver, and that might be like an introductory sign just trying to attract patrons to a new facility, if I had to guess. So right now, the Pilot Flying J here is the only charging in town, at least in this immediate block. Okay, just a quick walk around the site. As you can see, there is a Denny's, and just immediately behind this station is Interstate 40. It's like feet away from Interstate 40. As we were going to the hotel last night, cruising down 40, you could see this very clearly from the interstate. The blue neon going around the perimeter of the station is a clear indication of its location. The Flying J itself is rather small, not very many pumps, but it does have the restaurant, so I'm guessing it attracts a certain number of patrons just for the restaurant. So I guess a pretty good location. Just down the road at the next exit is also a Pilot. So Pilot has a pretty good presence here. Pilot Flying J is a pretty good presence here. Competing against Buc-ee, I'm guessing they're doing pretty good because Interstate 40 in this area, there's not much around here. Basically, the only thing that is around here are truck stops. There's a lot of Travel Centers of America. There's a lot of Love's. Love's is headquartered, I think, in Oklahoma, and Pilot Flying J. But otherwise, besides those, there's really not much around here on Interstate 40. This is a very desolate area of the country. Okay. 420 amps, 372 volts, 155 kilowatts is about what I would expect on a cold battery at 18% state of charge. As I said, we're going to be here a while. I'm going to get probably as close to 100% as I can. This is a really good charging session. We've only been here 10 minutes and we've already gotten up to 31% state of charge. And as I said, we arrived with 5% state of charge. The incoming kilowatts is somewhere around 150. This doesn't accurately represent, you have to go to the station to actually see it. I'm going to reset the trip computer. Next stop is, I think it's pronounced Tucumcari, New Mexico. It's going to be the first non-Pilot Flying J in the trip besides that Hyundai dealership. It'll be in Electrify America. So another thing about our efficiency is we just went through a pretty significant elevation climb. If you look, the Checotah, Oklahoma. The Oklahoma City is not on here. That was kind of an unscheduled stop. The Checotah, Oklahoma elevation was 650, right? But the Sayre is 1808, and here in Amarillo, it's 3662. So we're gaining a lot of altitude, and EVs definitely lose efficiency as they go up in elevation. And as you can see further on down here, we're going to be continuing to going up in elevation. So I think our final destination, we got a 7,100 foot elevation. So efficiency is just going to be taken away. There's really no way around it. When you go up in elevation, you lose efficiency. So far, this is probably the best charging session of the entire trip. We pulled in with 5% state of charge. We're now at 70% state of charge. Right around 70 kilowatt hours have been dispensed in 30 minutes. Still getting over 100 kilowatts. Okay, at 74% state of charge, we've just now dropped for below 100 kilowatts for the first time. 73.5 kilowatt hours dispensed, 33 minutes so far. Here's the first. This Flying J has a barber shop. Wow, never seen that before. And here's the driver's lounge. Pretty big space. Normally they run just kind of normal movies or whatever. But they also have game machines in here. I guess because we're in Texas, they could do that. 84% state of charge, pulling down 77 kilowatts. 84 kilowatt hours have been dispensed in 40 minutes. Still trucking along. We're at the 58-minute mark. We've made it to 98% state of charge. It's time to go back to the hotel and rouse the wife. She wants to go explore Amarillo a little bit, so we'll be in town just doing some exploring, I don't know, through breakfast or whatever, and then hitting the road. Should be pretty quick, though. Anyway, let's go ahead and get unplugged and get started with the day.
Welcome to New Mexico.
Okay, as expected, our efficiency really tanked because we were going up in elevation and also traveling over 75 miles an hour. We went 120 miles. Let's go ahead and get plugged in. Okay, this antique electric vehicle charging station is from a bygone era, from a company that I think it ceased operation that used to be called Electrify America or something. I understand most of the time they don't work, but maybe there's a few sparks left in these old geezers. So let's plug in and see if it does actually charge a modern electric vehicle. Oh my goodness, it's actually like, seems to be working. Initiating charge. I think this thing's like freaking 100 years old. I didn't know they actually still worked. Let's check. Oh my goodness, we are charging on an Electrify America station. Wow, I feel like I'm in the 19th century or something. Look at this. We are ramping up. The old geezer's still churning out electrons. All right, gonna charge up here and move on to the next station, which will be an EVgo in Albuquerque. Okay, this would definitely be the worst charging session we've had, except for the West Memphis, Arkansas one, which was derated. But we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We're thankful for it being here because it's the only game in town. However, directly across the street, the Flying J is putting in what appears to be a canopy location. We're gonna go over there and take a look. Also use the restrooms. My wife went in to use the restroom here and it was disgusting. There was a nasty smell. She didn't even go in the bathroom. There's a line outside the door, and as soon as someone opened the door, the smell that greeted her sent her walking away in the opposite direction. All right. Okay, the Loves with the Electrify America is right there, and this is the Flying J, and as you can see, the construction fencing is up. Very obviously soon to be a canopy EV charging station getting installed. Okay, 275 miles with an average efficiency of 2.4. We were going up in altitude, and again, the higher average speed is going to cut into that. So we're probably not going to see the 3.0 efficiency until we're leaving the mountains and going back into the lower levels of elevation. Let's get out and take a look at the chart. So a little rushed. We were eating dinner at a really nice brewery in downtown Winslow. If anyone has an opportunity, Route 66 goes right through downtown Winslow, and there's quite a few really nice eateries in the vicinity. Anyway, we are already past the point of being ramped up and starting to mellow out right around 150 kilowatts. All seems to be going well here. We posted up with a very low state of charge. My wife and I were chit-chatting And then I suddenly realized I should probably go out and shoot some video as well. And so we have some time because we do want to fill up here, because tomorrow we're going to be going into Flagstaff and on into the Grand Canyon National Park, where our final destination is. Here's a view of the station at night. Really beautiful. Square canopy with pull-through stalls, a full-service Denny's with a attached Flying J convenience store, the gas pumps, and the facilities for the long-haul truckers. We are immediately off the interstate. I don't know if you can see it, but it is right over there, so a very short distance from the interstate to the charging station. And again, we have the newer kinds of garbage cans with incorporated windshield squeegees and paper towels. So that seems to be a pattern that is occurring at all these charging stations. But still, over at the gas canopy are the older garbage cans with the buckets for the windshield squeegees. So go figure there. Someone at corporate must have made an executive decision. Anyway, we're going to finish charging up here. I'll post the curve once we get to the final stage. And tomorrow, heading into the Grand Canyon National Park with one last stop at a Pilot Flying J in Bellemont, Arizona. Okay, we've got more than enough in order to make it to our next station after we sleep for the evening. The next one will be in Flagstaff, outside of the road that goes into the Grand Canyon National Park. And there we'll probably get close to topping off, but this evening we don't need to. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the charge, and I will post the charging curve right alongside here. See everyone tomorrow. Okay, so we have 1.9% efficiency. The reason being is Flagstaff is several thousand feet above Winslow, so we had to do the altitude climb. The distance was 72.9 miles, really not too far, and it was a very beautiful desert morning. And it's a pretty day here in Flagstaff. Let's go ahead and get plugged in. Okay, this is very strange. We're here in Flagstaff. We're outside in a town called Bellemont or Belmont. It's 29 degrees outside, but with the sun, I'm fine. There's no wind, so I'm guessing that would make a difference if there was wind, but there isn't. And in the sun, it's actually warm. I can see my breath. Payment has been authorized. I can see my breath, but it feels warm. It's weird. It must be desert sun, some kind of altitude reaction or something. Let's go ahead videotape the ramp up here. Okay. Charging stations, by and large, on this trip have been successful, except for two. One in West Memphis, Arkansas, which seemed to be derated, and one in Jackson, Tennessee, which had a problem with simultaneous charging on one dispenser. This one does seem to be doing pretty good. I did not precondition before coming here, and I don't know why. It's probably lack of caffeine. We stopped off at a Starbucks. The hotel coffee really was not up to snuff, but it seems to be ramping up. We'll keep an eye on it. Post the charging curve when done. Well, I tell you what an absolutely beautiful location and a beautiful charging station at a very heavily used pilot travel stop right off Interstate 40. We're about 500 miles from Los Angeles and about 10 miles outside of Flagstaff here in Arizona. And we'll be charging up, going to the Grand Canyon National Park after we finish with the charging session. But just absolutely spectacular day. And as I said, although the air temperature is cold, it feels warm because of the direct sun and the lack of wind. So it's very comfortable. It's supposed to be 67 degrees today in Flagstaff in late December. So that's pretty darn good. But as you can see, the attached facility looks to be newly refurbished. Has McDonald's and a Subway, which is unusual. Normally, if there is a pilot travel center, it'll either have a single fast food or something attached with the like a hot bar or something like that. It doesn't typically have 2 fast food, but this one apparently is so heavily used they've got 2 fast food in there, plus the actual convenience store itself. The truckers seem to love this place because they're all fueling up, and I'm thinking because it's nice to get out of Flagstaff in order to take a spot to refuel before heading into the lower elevations on your way into Los Angeles, if I had to guess. Going east of here, there's also not much until you get to Winslow, and that's not really anything much to speak of. There is a flying Drake travel center there, but it's not very big. This is a much larger piece of property. So anyway, we're going to finish up charging here, head back on the road, and get to our final destination, which is Grand Canyon National Park. Okay, this definitely wasn't the best charging curve of the entire trip, but we'll take it. It's probably similar to the Electrify America. It spiked up to, I don't know, about 170, and then it dialed down pretty quick. Didn't see any big dips, but we're all done. We're going to stop charging and go to the Grand Canyon, Bright Angel Lodge. See you there.